All right, Vikings win 8-2, took down the Titans 23-13. Once again, kind of not the prettiest game in the world. I think it was, at least the first half was much better than the fiasco that was last week. Um, but then we had kind of a crappy second half. Um, you know, the big improvement this week, or the big gold star, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold had a very very good game today. Um, I didn't double check his stats. I think he threw for like 230, 240 somewhere in there. Um, and it could have been more because he had what should have been a touchdown, pretty long touchdown pass in the fourth quarter. Jalen Naylor put it right in his breadbasket, and he dropped it. So it would have been even more. Um, very good game. He did get hit. He did get credited with the fumble on that first drive. He pitched the ball to Jones. Jones never corralled it. Um, Technically, that went down as a Darnold fumble, but I don't put that on him. The people who watched the game know that that wasn't a Darnold play. Um, and then he had a near strip sack late, but he had a good game. Like he made some really good throws. He did some really good scrambles. His little spin move thing to get away from a sack. It didn't turn into a disaster this time. There was actually one play. He made a really good play. I think early in the game. But yeah, very very good game. Very efficient game from Darnold. Um, and we needed that because we need good Darnold. The, more often than not the rest of the way. So that worked out. Very good game from Darnold. And number two, the defense. We got burned on that one. um, on that, we pin them deep on a punt, and then we almost get a safety, and then we stop them just outside. You know, we stop them just outside the goal line, and then I don't know what happened there. That was like, I think they said on the replay it was Metellus who kind of blew it on that, but I mean you can't allow any quarterback, let alone a Will Levis, to burn you with a 98-yard just frozen rope down the sidelines. That was disgusting because the Titans had no life at that point. There was no reason to think that there was going to be any sort of um, sweating it out in the fourth quarter or even the second half at all. And then you give up this bomb play, and that's just unacceptable. And they did also give up another long one uh, later on that got called back because of one of those illegal formation penalties. So we had some issues there in the secondary, um, in the back end of the secondary. But you know, hey, we still only gave up 13 points. So it's like, you know, sometimes shit happens. Sometimes someone's going to beat you on a fluky kind of play, but overall the defense very good. They were really physical up front. They were killing them. I think we ended up with 5 sacks. I think Pat Jones got a couple. Gink got I think Gink might have gotten 2. Yeah, I think he got 2 like on back-to-back plays. Um, and you know, you could see it. They were really manhandling Titans O line. I know the Titans were down like a starter, and I don't know if their offensive line is good to begin with, but um, they were really good. They stopped the run again. I mean, they're great. They've been great against the run all year. Um, we only got one turnover right at the end where Levis just threw one up kind of in desperation, and Harrison Smith got the pick. You always wonder, guy, late in his career, could that be his last interception of his career? You never know. Um, so we didn't get the big turnover in this game, but you know, the defense again and again, not facing the greatest competition, in the world, but we did, we did have another very good showing from the defense, which is now 3 weeks in a row that this defense has played very, very well. Granted, it's against, the AFC South, which we have now clinched the AFC South title because we are 4-0 against the AFC South. We should get some sort of recognition for that. And weirdly, the team that's going to win that division is the team we beat the worst out of the bunch. So who knows? Um, but but in fairness, I do have to bring up the officiating, but not in the way I usually bring up the officiating, where I'm complaining about how much we got screwed. I think the Titans got screwed on a couple of pretty big uh, things in this game because that hit on Jordan Addison in the end zone on the 4th and goal. I don't know why we were even going for a 4th and goal at that point when we had, we're not good in those situations, those short yardage situations. Darnold threw one for Addison, and Addison got hit. He got hit, and he got hit like up in the air, but it wasn't a dirty hit. It wasn't a helmet hit. It wasn't like targeting the guy or anything. I know they don't have targeting in the pros, but that's not what was going on. It gave us a 1st and goal at the 1, and then Titans coach was losing his mind, and rightfully so. And in fairness, when those kinds of things go against the Vikings, myself included, we bitch about it a lot. So in fairness, you got to say that call, very much went our way. A big call that was not correct that went our way, and then the little, in this case it was the right call. I mean, the Titans had like, when did they end up with like 12, 13 penalties? They had a lot, and a lot of them were completely legit. It's not like it was just nonstop, bad calls against the Titans. But there were a couple key ones, and the other one was it was after we gave up the 98-yard touchdown. I think it was a 98-yarder. Then we put together a drive and went down and pushed it back to a 2-score lead. But we wouldn't have done that if I think we might have even been 3 and out because Darnold took a sack, but they called an illegal contact on the Titans, and that was not an illegal contact. That was a really, really, ticky-tack bad call. And again, if that call goes against the Vikings, we're bitching about it, and rightfully so. So in fairness, we gotta be fair about it, And there were a couple of I think, and there were a couple of late hit calls. I think those were good calls. We got one on I think Powell got like horse collared out of bounds. They called that was the right call, and then Darnold got hit, or like he was like running to the sidelines and he got shoved in the back, and they called that was a good call. And then we got hit with one where Chandler's like kind of went after a guy. He was in the white, but it's like sometimes like guys going out of bounds, you can't hit them. So I think all three of those calls were correct. It was just these couple other calls, but they were very big calls because one kept a drive going for us that got us a touchdown, and obviously the other one also got us a touchdown. So two of our touchdown drives in this game probably don't become touchdowns. I mean, obviously the one definitely doesn't become a touchdown if we don't get a couple of really bad calls. So just in fairness, I gotta say it. It's not the reason we won. We were clearly the better team, but we did get a couple of really big bad calls in our favor. It might be the last time this decade that we get a game like that where we get a couple of calls like that. So let's just enjoy it. I'm not saying we got to give the win back. I'm just saying, and we certainly had some, we've had way more go against us than for us in that way even this year. So I'm not complaining. Just trying to be fair. I'm trying to be a level-headed, reasonable analyst here on these games. So it's like this is how it is. We got away with a couple there. But yeah, first half especially, very very good performance. Um, Really no complaints too much about the performance, other than some of the short yardage plays we weren't getting done, and then that fumbled pitch on the first drive, which led to Tennessee getting a touchdown. Then you're like, oh God, here we go. But when we responded and went right down and scored, that was when we got the that really nice crossing route dart to Addison, who you ain't gonna catch him in open field. So um, and that was it for Tennessee. Or yeah, what am I thinking? They didn't get a touchdown; they got a field goal. Because it was what 16-3 at the half. Um, but it was good first half from Darnold. Offensive line doing fine. I mean, I forget how many sacks he took. He took a couple, but it wasn't. They surprisingly started Dalton Reisner at right guard today. That was announced right before kickoff, so that was unexpected. I'm sure they've already done the post games. They've probably already asked KOC about it. Why the decision was made in this particular case to put him in over Ingram. But really good game from Darnold. Just this was September Darnold. Most of the game, and that's very encouraging. Because he technically had a turnover, but he didn't really have a turnover, and he didn't throw an interception. So he was careful with the ball. There were even a couple of plays where it wasn't like a good play. He either throw it away or even take a sack sometimes, rather than force something and throw an interception. So that worked out. So good on Darnold. Uh, uh, you know, Spread the ball around pretty well. This was definitely the biggest Addison game in a while, because he got the touchdown, almost got obviously almost got a second touchdown. Had a couple other big catches in there. Uh, Justin Jefferson broke the franchise record for most yards in the first 5 seasons, and I believe he he broke the National Football League record for most receiving yards in the first 5 seasons. I think he was Torrey Holt. He broke the record of. Um, so you know, not too much else flashy in the passing game. Hawkinson had a couple key catches in there. Run game was not very good, and that becomes a problem when you're in the second half of a game and you're trying to salt this thing away, but you're not running the ball well. Aaron Jones, really not a good game. He had what I consider to be the fumble, early in the game, and then he kind of dropped one again later. He fell on it, but it's like he didn't have a very good game. Cam Akers actually, I think, had the better game, getting in there with some big runs, some solid runs. But overall, the running game was not very effective, and that's a problem, because when you're leading in the second half, you got to be able to run the football, and it's been a problem with this team, putting teams away. Like this again, this one never got like into nervousness territory, but this should have been a very, very smooth, stress-free second half in this game, and it wasn't, because we don't have that killer instinct. And I'm not saying we got to do what Detroit did today and go beat up Jacksonville 52-6. You don't have to do that. Um, Whatever. Very rarely does that happen. You don't need to win a game that way. But you gotta have killer instinct. And when you're clearly facing a very overmatched team, just step on their throats and just end this thing. You didn't need to even sweat it out in the slightest in the fourth quarter, and what we keep doing it. And this has been a problem, really for years. But in the KOC era, we don't. It's one reason why we played all those close games a couple years ago. We don't step on the throats of these teams and put them away. Either we don't cash in, and get touchdowns instead of field goals, or we don't just keep going. Like in the second half, we go in up 16-3, and then we get the ball, start the third quarter, and we go 3-and-out. Like, why don't we ever get the touchdown there? Because if you go 3, 4 scores, you're fine. Um, um, it just, it can burn you. I mean, it's happened to many teams over the years. It's like, you let that inferior team hang around. Like everybody thought when they hit that 98 yarder, oh God, here we go. We've dominated this game, and now here's where it flips, and now we're going to go the other way. Didn't happen. Thankfully, did not happen. Defense, pretty much shut it down from that point. We did give up. They did get a field goal at some point there, and of course we did get lucky on that. I forget who it was. I think it was Bynum got beat for that long touchdown, but it was the illegal formation called it back. So, just that it was starting to look like that second half of the Green Bay game where we just stopped covering anybody deep, and Jordan Love was just throwing whatever the hell he wanted. It was getting caught. That didn't last long, and Will Levis is not capable of having it last long, probably. But it's one of those things. Like we still got a lot of big games coming up. We're still fighting for the playoffs, and we're gonna get burned if we keep that up. But yeah, run game just not effective. But Darnold very good, and special teams. I mean, it got wiped away because we gave up a 98-yard touchdown, but we got a real nice pin him deep at the one moment there. Parker Romo, the honeymoon did end because he missed an extra point. The way I looked at it, that was the touchdown that we got from the bad call and the Addison hit. So it was like, okay, we missed an extra point, but we basically got 6 points there that we shouldn't have had. So I felt like that was a karma thing on that one. So I didn't. It wasn't that big of a deal. And he hit all the rest of his kicks. So and he's just our temporary guy anyway. So we're fine. So what else here? Not much really to talk about. This was kind of a nondescript kind of a game for the most part. But yeah, defense, whatever, 5 sacks, Gink getting a couple, Pat Jones getting a couple. Cashman had a couple of real big plays in there. Grenard had a tackle for loss that was really good. You can't bitch too much about the performance of the defense, really, other than like one play. Because for better or worse, that other touchdown that got called back by the illegal formation, it didn't count, so it never happened. Just like I don't know what happened on that 98-yard touchdown. It's like that'll be the play. Then what are the top prime plays or whatever they say on Red Zone? That'll be probably the number one play of the day. Because if you hit, and it was so easy. It was just like, oh, it was gross. I mean, everybody thought, oh God, here we go, but it didn't happen because because it was kind of a fluky play, and the defense did, get it done. We got 1 or 2 turnovers on downs. And again, not great competition, but hey, you play who you play. So we go to 8-2. We could have had a little extra help in the wild card standings, but the Bears, these sorry ass Bears, I don't know what they were thinking. They conceded a really long field goal at the end of their game. They could have beaten the Packers. They conceded a really long field goal. They just sat on the ball, and then their kick was blocked. Because of course it is. Because why should anything not work out for the fucking Packers? So the Packers are still just a game back of us, although we do have the tiebreaker on them still, and we get them here end of December. So we can still sweep them and really put some distance. And Detroit obviously won. I mean, of course they were going to win. Hosting the Jaguars, of course they were going to win that, but easily. And I don't think there was anything else really in the NFC early. that was relevant. There were a lot of games in the early window between like just kind of non-playoff teams like what, Cleveland and New Orleans and the Jets. Jets lost again. Aaron Rodgers lost again. What are they now? 3-7, 3-8. I predict he's not going to even finish the season. I think he's going to quit because why wouldn't he? He's a little punk. Of course he'll quit. Um, but yeah, so they're done. We got some NFC stuff I think still to come today. The big hyped game is Chiefs Bills, but that doesn't affect us. And I know Kirk's playing out in Denver right now. I have no idea what the. I think Denver took the lead early in that game. Obviously, the big game was a couple nights ago. Washington lost to the Eagles again, or not again, but they lost to the Eagles. Um, so that kept Washington down a notch from us too. So you know, it's all in front of us. I mean, I find it hard to believe we're going to be able to catch Detroit because, I mean, for God's sakes, that ridiculous thing last week where they hit the two 50-plus yard field goals that barely the same kick. They just barely scrape in and they stay straight that whole way. It's just if they ain't, I mean, everything's going their way this year. I don't think we're going to be able to catch them in the division. So you just got to stay up for that wild card because you get that top wild card, then you get to go probably to Atlanta or whoever wins the NFC West, and those would be winnable, very winnable situations. So just got to keep at it. And the encouraging thing is that we got good Darnold today. Sam bounced back after really a couple bad games, um, and took care of the football. Really, for as far as I'm concerned, he didn't have a turnover. He took care of the football, made some good throws. I mean, it's an imperfect team. We gotta figure out how to step on the throats of these teams because we are going to be facing some teams coming up that they're not going to be pushovers in the same way that a Titans or a Jaguars can be a pushover. I mean, even the Bears. I mean, the Bears played a little better today. Maybe they're gonna and obviously that's the game next week. That's the Soldier Field curse. I know we've won some games at Soldier Field this lately. I'm aware of it. I've you know maybe the real young Vikings fans don't know it, but I know it could because we won there like one time in like 15 years. And I still have PTSD from that. I always look at those Soldier Field games as they're going to be a challenge. But boy, if you can win that one, then you're 9-2, and you come home and you have 4 December home games. So you got a shot to really keep piling up the wins, and maybe Detroit slips up here or there. Stranger things have happened.